Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing Seeing Other People, written by Diana Reid. It's a general fiction book. It's in a long list for Best Fiction Book in the Indie Book Awards, which is an Australian award. This book was a bit dull, to be honest. It feels very emotionless. The language, the writing style, just didn't work for me. It just felt all one level. It felt devoid of any feeling. The characters are okay. The way the characters are constructed are okay. But just the language in the book, the way it's written, I just struggled to get through this book, to be honest. It just felt like there was no light in the book, no colour, no joy really in the book. It just felt stripped of joy. Eleanor and Charlie are sisters, and they're very different people. So Eleanor is very structured, very rigid in her life, in her thinking. She's an analyst, so she works in high finance, I think, as a business analyst, and that type of thinking runs through her life, all parts of her life. She likes order. She likes just things to be done in a certain way. Doesn't like change. When change comes along, it really disrupts her life, really affects her. Charlie, on the other hand, is very flamboyant, very creative. She's an actor. She loves just off-the-cuff things. She loves acting on a whim. She loves just living life to its fullest, feeling alive all the time. So they're totally different people. And they do work, though, together as characters. So when they're meeting in the book, when they're discussing things, their dialogue, their interactions, it feels real because they're so different. But they find a common ground when they communicate, and I did think that was well done in the book. That's the way the characters developed. So the characters, the way they're developed, the way they interact was good, but it's not the way it's written. The book is just written in the writing style. It's just not good, in my opinion. This book is about a few months of their life, so it is very much a slice of life story. Through those few months, we see heartache, we see romance, we see friendships tested, we see all these threads amongst different people twisting and turning, getting stronger, thinning out, sometimes almost breaking. We see a lot of things going on between these characters in these few months. And it's not just Eleanor and Charlie, it's different characters in the book as well. And sometimes those lines between friendship and romance and honesty and truth and all the things that are going through this book are very blurred. The characters are quite deceiving to each other. Many characters in this book lie to each other willingly. They lie for different reasons in their own mind. So some characters are lying because they think it's protecting the other person. Some characters are lying because it's protecting themselves and they're aware of that. Sometimes they're in denial, thinking they're protecting other people when they're really protecting themselves. So it's a book also about deceit and lies and untruths, and whether people are being deceitful willingly and knowingly, or they're just doing it in a way that's kind of learned in their behaviour, but they're not very aware of it. On the relationship side, Eleanor breaks up with her boyfriend Mark, and in that storyline, we get to experience the characters work through that. So what does that mean for the person who's doing the breaking up and the person who's the recipient of that? How do they react? How do they feel? We get that explored in the book. On the other hand, Charlie is falling head over heels in love with her housemate and friend and boss, her director in a play, Helen. And we get to see that develop as well. But what's that mean if one person in the relationship is falling in love and the other person is not? It's not a balanced relationship in that sense. And how do people deal with that, especially when they're in the same house together and they're housemates? So what does that mean for those characters? And that's explored in this book as well. But as I mentioned before, this book is about secrets and deceits and what happens when those secrets come to light. And in this book, it seems that one of the themes is all secrets come to light eventually. It may come to light accidentally, or because somebody says something to somebody else and word gets around. But whatever the case, secrets come to light. And it's all about the impacts of that. What's the fallout? And how does that affect people when they're related or just friends? That's explored in this book. For much of this book, the characters are very hard to like. They're not the nicest people through the book. Many times the characters are acting selfishly. They're acting out of self-interest. They're not happy for each other when good things happen to other characters. There's many just character traits going on in this book that aren't nice, and they make many characters unlikable for much of the book, if I'm honest. But running through the whole story, underneath all that, there is a sense of family and togetherness, especially with Eleanor and Charlie. Even though they go through a lot during the timeline in this book, there's always this sense that there's a family thread, because they are sisters, but that thread, even though it gets strained at times, you just get the sense that it's always there. So there's a thread that goes underneath the book, and just a feeling you get when you read this story. So even though the characters may be unlikable at different times, and some characters are unlikable for much of the book, you have this underlying thread of family that runs through the whole book. But while all these different themes in the book are intriguing and interesting, the writing style just lets it down. I didn't enjoy the writing style. There may be people out there who love the writing style and think it's wonderful. It wasn't for me. It felt very void of emotion and felt very dreary. It felt very grey. There's no colour in the book. There's no vibrancy, no joy. Even in moments where there should be joy in the book, it's just dulled down by the way it's written. And that did impact the read for me very much. Eleanor, who's one of the sisters in the book, one of the main characters, the writing style suited her character more than any other character in the story. But the whole book was written from her point of view in a way, because it felt like the whole book was written in how she thinks, how Eleanor thinks. Because she's very rigid, very clinical, she's a bit cold, a bit sterile in her thinking and with her emotions, and that's what the book felt like in the writing style. This character was developed quite well, so even though the writing style in the book wasn't the best for me, I thought the characters were developed quite well and the characters were consistent. Eleanor, you get a sense of who she is, you get a sense of how she thinks, you get a sense of how her whole character is constructed. She feels three-dimensional, so she's a good character in this story. Charlie, again, she's created well in the book, but it's a writing style that lets her character down a bit. You get the impression the author wants to create chaos in this character, in the way the character thinks, the way the character acts, all the things the character does in the book. The way she's very rash in different decisions she makes, things like that. But with the writing style, you can see it's there, and you can see what the author's trying to do, but it needed more vibrancy, it needed more colour in those sections, and it just felt like we've got this character Charlie, who's meant to be very chaotic, very lifelike, but it's written in a way that it feels like Eleanor, who's more rigid and sterile, a bit cold. It doesn't feel like Charlie in those sections when we've got her in the book. That was disappointing to me, because I can understand the character, I can see the character, the way the character's constructed in the book, and the character's constructed quite well, but the writing style just lets the character down a lot. Helen, for me, was the character that was hardest to like. She's a character that's very judgmental, very quick to judge others, but doesn't really appreciate people judging her. She just seems like she wants something more all the time. She's never happy. Anything she takes from people is not enough. You get that sense with Helen. You get a sense of somebody who's very passionate about what she wants, what she does, but that passion sometimes doesn't spread out to other people. And even though she seems a very strong person that other people are attracted to her a lot, I get the impression that even though she has these people who are attracted to her and get in her orbit, she kind of repels them, and she's happy to do so. And just the way her nature is so judgmental and just a little bit offside, it's the only way I can describe it. She doesn't feel very centered as a person. She pretends to be, I think, in the book. She's presented as a character who thinks she's very focused, very centered, but but I think this character is spiraling a little bit in life. This book was a struggle to read, down to the writing style, but I did like the way the characters were created, the way they were constructed. I rate this a 3 out of 5, and that rating is mainly because of the characters. The characters were written quite well. The characters did feel real, but just the writing style lets them down sometimes in the book. On my channel, I do review books from many different genres. Check out my channel and subscribe. I'm sure you'll find something you like.